Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Tactical Baby Gear podcast. In this episode, we have my good friend Booth on the show. Booth is the father of 5 kids. It is quite entertaining, to say the least. We talk about literally all kinds of topics. There's some really, really great information. You will laugh. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I apologize, man.
Here we go again. It's like a dad joke thing. Okay. What did the drummer call his 2 daughters? And a 1 and a 2. It's funny every time. What's up, Booth?
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
I'm tired, but good.
What are you tired from? Please
Driving.
tell me. I feel like that's a
Driving
loaded question.
A minivan full of kids.
You've been on a long trip.
Yes.
How long have you guys been away from home now?
10 days, I think.
10
days.
Booth lives in the Florida, Tampa area.
It's moist there.
It's
moist.
Yes. It's hot too.
It's not as bad here, but it's
And
nice.
you guys went up to West Virginia for a while.
Yes.
But you do that every year, almost twice a year?
Yeah, we generally do it. It's kind of came with the marriage. Like, so my wife's best friend that she grew up with lives up there, and they've got 4 children. So we go up every summer for generally 2 to 3 weeks, but we didn't have as much time this year. So we go up there and hang out.
Cool.
And lose our minds.
Right on. Well,
Wait, you said they have 4 kids?
They have 4 kids. We have 5. So
you guys heard that right. 5.
5.
You know how this works, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
Yes, I have a hobby.
Okay.
And no, I don't have cable TV.
Let me warn you guys, this is going to be a very entertaining episode, and I'm probably gonna
apologize
laugh
now.
for most of the time.
I apologize now.
Booth, tell them like a quick little backstory, who you are, what you do.
So my name's Booth. I've been a firefighter paramedic for the better part of 16 years, and I have a big family. So I have 5 children, a wife, and I run a business on the side.
Which is called?
Armordillo Concealment. We manufacture holsters and various other things that we sell to other holster manufacturers.
Right on. You guys have seen me post this stuff before. The holster that I carry on a daily basis is Armordillo Concealment. Incredible quality product. He patented a product years ago called the X-Fur, which is the only
still one of the
holster
only ones that does what it does.
That's light. I don't know. You explain it there.
So it's light bearing specific. Generally, some models don't work now because when we designed it, they weren't on the market. But it's firearm agnostic. It only matters about the light.
So if you have a light on the front of your gun, on your pistol, let's verify that.
Yes, pistol.
So if you have like a Glock with a Streamlight light on it or whatever,
a Surefire,
he's got a holster specific to the light. So you could use it with practically any firearm if you have that light on it.
Yep. A very big group of firearms. The most popular ones.
Right. The Glock, the Smith & Wessons,
yep,
the 1911s, that kind of stuff. So you could have one holster to use across all your different firearms if you needed to.
Yes.
And it's compatible with suppressors, and it's super, super rad. I encourage you guys. I will make sure to leave a link in the description below to Armordillo Concealment where you can check that out because it's really, really cool. Anyways, enough of your
and so
plug.
you got 5 kids.
Yes.
You mind saying how old they
A
are?
professional career, 5 kids,
And a side business.
And most important, obviously, kids, then husband, then professional career, then business, and then I think I got time for myself scheduled in like a 2-week period. Like,
a year.
yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So how old are they?
So I've got a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and 1-year-old.
So you had a little gap there and then got aggressive.
Well, you cannot, I will tell you right now, you cannot argue with a woman that wants to get pregnant. She wins every time.
Don't tell me that, dude. Do not tell me that, please. My wife is like...
Well, see, we decided, like, our plan was 2 kids, and we were going to have them close together, and that way, when we were done, like, they go to school at the same time, like, everything was planned out. And then they went to school, and then the wife's like...
I'm bored.
I want another one. And I said, you're out of your damn mind. Oop, I can't say that.
No, you can. You're good.
Okay. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Like, what are you talking about? Like, our business is exploding. We've got some freedom now. We can work from this time and still go pick the kids up together. She's like, yeah, I want to get pregnant. I'm like, no, absolutely not. And
Since your mom
three-
didn't
three
raise no
more
quitters.
kids.
well, actually, it's partially like, well, not your fault, but we were in Vegas, and well, actually, I said, hey, I'll give you 4 months. You get pregnant in 4 months. It was meant to be. So I was like, all right, month 1. I'm like, nope, I ain't going near her. We're in the window. Nah, I ain't doing it. So I'd either work or I'd be out in the shop or I'd be doing something else. Not pregnant. This happens from month 1 through 3. But then I go to Vegas. So I go to Vegas and I'm gone for a week and drinking, hanging out with everybody. And I come home and I'm like, all right, mama, let's go. And I'm like, not paying attention to my fake
The
watch.
date.
And I'm like, oh no. Sure enough, she got pregnant month 4. And
Wait, so how was that my fault?
Well, because we were drinking in Vegas.
Oh.
And I was carrying you around.
That's right. Got it. So because we were hanging out, your wife got pregnant.
You wanted me to buy another diaper bag.
Oh, right.
That's my excuse. Has nothing to do with my wife. I gotta blame
That's like
somebody.
Alex
I can't
blaming
yell at-
me for almost dying 2 weeks ago.
Well, don't do that.
He's like, I hang out with you and I'm like sick as crap. Too much sodium. Because like because I made him
he
like
only eats French fries and like
I was
pizza.
gonna say like
French
you
fries.
do not
I
eat
eat like a
anything
5-year-old.
green. Well, I know this.
Turns out had nothing to do with me, and it was actually
Partially
debatable.
overdose on Pedialyte.
Hey, didn't want to be hungover.
No. Just don't get hungover. Just keep drinking.
Yeah, just don't end the drinking. You don't get hungover.
Fair enough.
I'm like, that's how you transition into being an alcoholic.
That's how I've been doing it wrong all these
Yes,
years.
yes. It's an old fireman trick.
You're right. That gives me a lot of faith. Thanks. Oh my gosh. So, being a firefighter with 5 kids and a side business, how in the world do you get anything else done? Like, I'm surprised that your business is doing as well as it's doing, while still having the kids. I know you've kind of turned things down a little bit because
Yes.
now 5 kids, and you're like,
It-
holy
well,
cow.
it's
And you've
all-
been promoted at the fire department.
Yeah.
And you have a lot on your plate.
It is. It is a lot. So I grinded out for many, many years, and to the point to where now that we've, amassed a little bit for ourselves, that we can, I can say, hey, I can scale back and I can spend some time with my kids and play. And we were fortunate to live on a big piece of property that I can just let them play and go, and we have things that they can do that are all right there. So we play, and we still make them do things the old school way, the hard way. So they get that, that drive and understanding that they got to work hard, because the only reason why we were able to do what we've done is through very hard work.
Yeah, and you've done a really good job, and I commend you on this, of some of the work-life balance, because you've put your business kind of on the back burner multiple times. I don't know, how long have we known each other? Years, several years now. 5 years?
At least 5. I would say the first year of TBG.
Yeah.
It was the first year.
Yeah, that's right, because I told you, I was like,
Because you were a customer, and then
hey,
you
I
had
think I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
I think I had kind of started doing it a
we
little
started
bit.
like talking from like, and this is a huge thing. Like, we became friends because you were a customer of mine,
Right.
And that's how we started talking. And then from there it was just like bouncing business ideas off of each other, and then it just kind of grew into a friendship to
Right.
where now we
We're just
hang
buddy-
out.
yeah.
Like when you come to Florida, I come, my kids and all pack up and we come see you. So it's kind of cool, that
Yeah, for
like-minded individuals that
100%, man, and that's just the really cool power of social media. Like, that had never
Yeah.
happened without like an Instagram or whatever.
We drove from one friend's to come here to hang out and go to dinner with you guys and do this, and then we're gonna go home tomorrow, and school
Right.
starts on Wednesday. Thank God. Tag your it, teachers.
I know my wife can't wait either. She's like, I'm so ready for the kids
My
to go back to school.
kids don't go back till after Labor Day.
Sucks to be you.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
School starts next Monday for us,
Yeah, ours is Wednesday.
the 19th.
I still got to do school shopping. I'll get it done.
But anyways, what I was going back to is, like, you've done a really good job with a lot of the work-life balance, and there's times where you've over-indexed on the work side, but then
Oh,
you've
yeah.
also over-indexed on the kind of home life side, and spending time with the kids, and you'll shut things down for weeks at a time to like do that. But being a firefighter has allowed you to, in the beginning, it was like, well, you work 24 on, 48 off, so
Yeah.
you've had those times at home to spend with the kids, but then you're also doing the side business. But you've done a really good job. But the fact that you could have taken your side business full-time years ago,
Oh yeah.
and you
Chose
didn't,
not to.
and you can continue to do the firefighter job, and tell us why.
Partially just I love it. Like, I still to this day love it. I still to this day get to be a part of a thing that will change people's lives. So to me, I just couldn't walk away from that. Like as much as I was.
Well, you were super interested. Like you had a lot of vested interest in it, and like with retirement and things like that. Like you're 16 years into it. You're not far from able to kind of retire from it.
Yes.
And then you still have so much time after that. You started when you were so young.
Yeah, I started at 19 years old, so that was very hard to like say, okay, I'm going to go for something that's unknown and unsure and go full time, which I could have done probably far better. But to me, it just like I had this sure thing and security for my family.
Right.
You know, I had
which is very important to you
Yes.
because of your upbringing. Like,
Yes.
let these people know, like, you didn't cut, you
I
came
came
up
from
with nothing.
Nothing.
From
So
dirt.
I was, my mother was a teenage mom, and it was a very small family. My grandfather basically said that we were not allowed to be on government assistance. So he worked harder, and he would help out as much as he could. And there was times we went grocery shopping in my grandmother's pantry, you know, and it's just, that was what we did. You know, that was my life. And I look back at it now and I'm like, I realize that like some of those nights that I was mad at my mom because we were eating the same thing, like that's when she was out of money. And,
Right.
you know, so that hard work and seeing that, you know, work ethic from my mom and my grandfather and my grandmother, you know, holding both houses technically together, I was like, all right.
Your
know,
grandma's the jam. Yeah, I've heard so many stories about
my
grandma.
She whipped my butt. She didn't whip anything.
Yeah.
If it was in reach, I was getting hit with it. And I deserved every one of
But
them.
what's cool, I mean, like those kind of adversities growing up and being younger and like having to actually work for it and suffering through some of those things. And then as you become a parent, understanding like, oh, dang, that's because mom didn't have any money. Like the struggles and the trials and tribulations are because of some of those things, but you've learned from that, which is why I think you've chose some of the paths that you did. Like this is a safer path. Like, yeah, I could probably grow my business into way more and do far better financially for my family, but there's the job security of the fire department to where I'm not willing to take that risk. And that's okay. Like I think so many people get on this path of like chasing the dollar versus kind of, you know, as long as they're happy doing, if you're happy doing it and you don't need that money, let's call it, like, and you found a balance between the two. Like you get to kind of be an entrepreneur, but you're also a firefighter, which you really love to do, but it is also providing security for your family and everyone can sleep at night.
My wife and I's biggest goal at probably about 5 years ago we wanted her to stay home with the kids. We wanted her to raise the children. She was working, we were paying for daycare, and we were losing like $300 a month by paying for daycare and her going to work. And by the time everything was said and done, I'm like, this is dumb, and somebody else is raising our children. I said, no, I'd rather just work harder. So she quit and she started raising her children, and which is probably a mistake, which is probably why I have 5 now. But you know, it's good because my wife raises our children. You know, there's a reason why I married my wife, and I'd rather her raise my children than somebody else. So to me, it was a sacrifice worth making. And I've explained this to my children many times, especially my older children, because they're the ones that ask, like, hey, you know, we miss you. Like, where you been? So we explained to him, like, there's a reason why mommy stays home. Mommy gets to stay home with you guys and take you to school every day and pick you up because daddy works really hard. And that's the trade-off. You know,
well, it's also a trade-off for your wife, too. She's got to make the sacrifice of
staying home
at home
yeah.
and being with kids all the time.
It's way harder. Like,
dude,
to me,
staying at home is no joke. I've said it 1,000 times.
Man.
Like,
my wife is a saint. My wife is an absolute saint. There is no way that I could do it. I mean, I'd rather you tell me go work 120 hours a week. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's just get it done.
Give me the shovel. I'll dig this ditch.
I'll be good.
Like, stay the kids one day. I'm like, wait, when you coming home?
I'll be like,
I gotta be alone with them for 8 hours.
Like, where is my
trying
phone?
To kill me?
Which one of you kids took it? Give it to me. I got a message, mom. Like, get your butt home now.
Right.
But it's fun, man. It's fun. That was the biggest goal, and we achieved that goal. And you know, that was. Now we're working on our other goals in life, and that's what we're at, you know.
Right.
Oh, incredible.
I don't even know.
See,
Yeah,
I didn't know. I mean, obviously, I've gotten to know you over the years, but I didn't know the whole backdrop. I didn't know.
Yeah, dude, Booth and I have had stories. We've had those late night, like
hours
hours on the
had to
phone.
overcome.
Booth has become like
incredible.
real, like he's become like initially we were internet friends, like, but we've become such good friends over the years, and now like business aside, like we'll be friends for life.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Hands down, like our kids will see each other every probably couple of years and play in the pools and have all the fun times, without a doubt. But like we've gotten to know each other talking about business and talking about here's some ideas, or this
other
has
people
worked for
too.
us, and stuff like that. But we've had those like hours and hours of late night conversations,
yeah.
and then it's like, and then we start talking about the kids because it's like, oh my God, my kids, I got to do this, or they driving me crazy because of X.
Yes.
And then I hear your stories, and then it's like, he's like, oh no, my grandmama wouldn't let me get away with that. She's whooped my ass if I did that.
Oh yeah.
So we like
Get the wooden spoon out.
But then
it goes from like business talk to like parenting talk, and it just goes for hours. And
but then I'm rooted in those things, like my children, like with discipline and stuff like that. But then also like my grandmother, her rule was like, for me, if you could reach the stove, you had to cook.
I remember that. Yeah.
Like that's the rule. And her response to me is, what good, respectable woman's going to want a man that can't cook for himself, clean, or help out, or do anything? I mean, I was raised by a woman. I didn't have a dad. So to me, that was my grandmother. She made me do these things. And now to this day, like that's my passion, is cooking. And,
Right.
Everything else is kind of, around it. And that's what we do. Like I'm instilling that in my children. Like my daughter can cook now with certain things.
There's a lot of things that you're instilling in your kids that we were talking about just very briefly before this.
Some would consider it mean.
What's that?
In 2019, some would consider it mean.
No, dude, it's important stuff that's getting lost in the world. And
I think it is.
Because you grew up with like old school grandma that didn't take shit.
Dude, so it's
like, well, so it's like she was raising you like, what kind of woman's going to want a man that can't cook or do this or respect
about
people,
respect, yeah,
and all that kind of
that's
stuff.
what it was.
And your kids, I was unbelievably impressed at how well behaved and mannered and polite and all the things. Because everyone sees different sides of your kids. Like you see things about your kids that you're like,
I think they're out of control. And then people see them and they meet them, like when I'm not around, they're like, man, your kids are really respectable. I'm like, what? Because
Are we talking about the same kids?
Yeah,
right.
What kid? What's his name? Oh, no, that's definitely my son. I appreciate it, but it's like, man. And you see that because you see him every day, and you see the stuff that and I make sure, because my family was kind of really hard in the aspect that they didn't always say the good, and it wasn't like they were mean or anything, but they always focused on the bad because there was no way that they were going to raise some little punk, exactly. Right. So I try to make sure that I tell them when they're doing good, but I'm also on them.
So you reward them for the good stuff.
Thunder Dad voice, the look, all of that. Like, all it's legit. Just
like, can you sum up your discipline style?
So discipline style would first be talking to them and telling them. They get 3 warnings before like my voice gets raised, and then or look, and then if they go past that, then they get whipped. I mean, it's just
Thunder Dad, and it's on.
So I don't go unless it's something like super egregious. Like if for some reason they start hitting each other, then I'll put them in the shirt. Like put them face to face, put one of my shirts on top of them, and make them just sit face to face. Like you're gonna just sit there until you figure it out.
So do you have rules when it comes? So my kids have really started, like the twin boys that are like 3 and change. Like they started to wrestle and do all that. So I'm trying to instill because I want them to be boys and they wrestle. You know what I mean? Like, and then you go into like. So now I'm trying to be like, all right, like I don't want to just dive in all the time because they need to kind of work stuff out.
And they're gonna have a
I'm
weird
also
dynamic too because they're twins.
Well, that's true, but I'm also then going like, all right, how do I instill like you can wrestle around like
you feel
no
like you're
face
punching yourself
and no like under the belt, if you know what I mean. So it's like, but they're like 3 inches. So like I'm trying to be like, don't just jab them in the eye. Like that's not how you like wrestle as like kind of play it around.
I'm not the right person for this because the one thing that my wife consistently yells at me about is that I play with the kids way too rough.
Right.
So like I'll get home from the fire station and they're like, let's go. Like it's time to wrestle. So like I get on the floor and they're jumping on me, and to me I love it, but they're getting a little bit older, so like the bigger kids, like they'll straight up take me out. Like and because I've taught them, like, so they'll want to wrap up my legs, and then they'll get me down to the ground, then they'll grab my wrist, pull it out, and then they'll start jumping on me. And it's like, all right, now I'm getting kind of hurt. Like, y'all are getting a little bit big. Like I taught you, I taught you this stuff, but
so help me out. So you said the ages, but like boy, girl, like how?
So my oldest is a girl.
Okay.
So it's a 10-year-old girl, 9-year-old boy, a 3-year-old girl, 2-year-old girl, 1-year-old boy. Yeah.
You said that. I still didn't comprehend what just happened.
It's as crazy as that sounds. It's way worse. It's madness.
That sounds like it.
But it's fun.
Well, I guess the oldest has got to be helping like do diapers and stuff, right?
No, she can. We generally don't let her, just because I don't know. It's only in a pinch. Like if my wife needs help or something's going on, or like we're getting ready to go out.
Pin one of the kids down.
You have to. When you have that many kids, like you're sending one to the potty.
Oh, you got 3 in diapers?
No. Luckily, the 3-year-old is out, and we're about to potty train the 2-year-old with the 3-day trick.
What's the 3-day trick?
Help Alex with that one.
The 3-day trick is this: you straight up, you set down towels and you put them in underwear, panties, if it's a boy or girl, whatever you want to use, and you let them just the first couple times they're going to go in their underwear. But they're not going to like it. They're going to be screaming. They're going to be like, and then you just sit them down on the potty. Like every 15 minutes, you play a game. Put them on the potty, make them sit down. They'll get up and then just keep going. Eventually, after like the first day, you're going to be frustrated. You're like, this sucks. Like I'm not doing this anymore. Like we're done. Second day, keep going at it. And then finally, by generally the third day, they've got it. Like they know, and this is at the point where they're generally telling you like, hey, I peed or I pooped or I did whatever.
See, we're struggling with number 2.
Number 2 takes the longest.
Man,
it takes the longest. It does, but to me, that's not as many times as they're peeing through the day.
You don't know my kids.
Yeah.
20 years from now, when they watch this video, they will understand.
Yes.
But dude, all 3 boys, and that's all they do. Doesn't the youngest one? Like,
I mean, does it
literally
ever stop
like
as an adult though?
it's just
I gotta pee
unreal.
right now.
No, we we basically stayed home for like the 72 hours and just kind of kept forcing them down, and like literally on like hour like 60, you're just like pulling your hair out.
Well,
and then it like all of a sudden kind of clicks.
At night we would put them in diapers when they go to bed. But during the day, that's just what we did. Like we set out like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like this is what we're doing, and it's worked with 3. So now we're gonna do it the 4th. Like
you've got it down.
Now, were you big on like the like treats, like rewarding?
No stickers. I don't want to give them food like that. So because my kids' palate's pretty incredible because of my cooking. So
we're gonna talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to ruin that aspect. So for that point, like
we tried to give them M&Ms and stuff. It didn't work. I put a sticker in the toilet. And they were trying to pee on it. It was like I put a sticker in the toilet, and that's what got them going. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
Well, the boy, like we had him sit down at first, and to me it was just easier, and it clicked for when he also had to poop. We eventually let him go pee outside and stuff like that, and he, obviously
that's all my kids want to do now.
Yeah.
They're like, we're just gonna go pee outside. Like, we're in the park because we can't get them in a public restroom. Like they're freaked out with all the noise and stuff. So we're
my kids
gradually like
even as they get older,
we're gradually like introducing it. Like, hey, let's just wash our hands and like just so they're they don't.
And of course they want to visit every public potty for whatever reason.
They have to go check it out. Like you go to any restaurant, my kids are like, we have to go to the bathroom.
We just left 5 minutes ago.
And they just want to go check it out. They want to see what it's all about.
But
once
they
get over the fear of it. But then, like, my kids for a long time would freak out when you flush like a public bathroom because a lot of them are like loud and noisy, and
or
like
the
air dryer.
Yes,
yeah, dude, they freak
out.
Kid
loves. So they finally discovered the paper roll.
Oh yeah,
you put your hand on it, it comes down. So I killed about 2 trees this weekend. It's like, but I was like, the kids in the bathroom, like, let's encourage being in a public restroom. Like, what'd you do on Saturday for your birthday? I was like,
played with the
paper
you
actually asked her, and then it's like the little wins. You're like, yes, we actually made it to the bathroom, and like nothing happened, and nobody was screaming.
But then we went outside the restaurant, and he peed on the side of the building. Okay. So, dude, we were just in the restroom.
So we live on quite a bit of property, and my son, he just, myself, my father-in-law, my son, wherever we're at, when we're working, we just, pee in a bush or whatever. So my son, when we go home, he's out in the front yard one day, and he just stops, and of course he pulls his pants like in underwear all the way down, like all the way down,
the ankles,
and he's holding it with both hands, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm peeing, Dad, I'm peeing. But I'm like, dude, you're facing the road, like people are driving by. He's like, so I gotta pee. I'm like.
I got my kids trained, like the girls even, like they'll pop a squat out in the woods if they need to.
Well, so we travel with a portable potty, like the trainer potties.
Yeah,
like that thing goes in the minivan. When I'm playing minivan jigsaw puzzle,
that's a good young kid travel tip.
Yes, without a doubt. Like that. Once we started doing that, it was way easier because we can't just all pack up and go into the bathroom.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Plus, the bathrooms are disgusling. Like I can control that. So
I hate public restrooms, like gas stations.
Who does? Like,
and I'm like,
what are your house?
I tell all my kids, I'm like, don't touch anything, nothing. Like I'll pick you up. I will put you on the toilet. Yep. Don't touch the sides of it. Don't stop. No, don't touch that. Don't. Yep. And then it's like,
and then so it's like to that end, like but then they touch the doorknob, and the doorknob's probably dirtier than the.
See, I make them when they dry their hands. They get a whole nother sheet, and then they use that to open the door.
Right.
And then.
So do you have like more knowledge about like public restrooms because you're a firefighter than like the average?
No,
public?
I just assume everything's disgusting.
Fair enough. I just didn't know with what you've seen.
No,
you're like,
so
oh
does
man,
Alex.
don't. So that's a balance I have because like I just don't like germs.
He's a germaphobe.
Nah,
Let's
I'm
just
not
call it
that
what it is.
bad, but
I came in with the sniffles the other day. I'm like, allergies, right? He's like, hey man, you feeling okay? You sick? Like,
Shuts his door.
It's allergies. I'm like,
You stay out there.
Or maybe it's the flu.
Yeah.
Who knows?
like, yeah, you can do the podcast by yourself. But
You know what?
So
I'm
I've been
do?
trying to
I'm gonna
balance.
lick his mic before I go.
Don't do that, please. No, so like I've been really trying to balance. You know, like you, everything you read, you're like, you know, we're protecting our kids so much. Where it's like, all right, like walk on the instead of just walking on the sidewalk, walk on the little raised part in the parking lot and fall and scrape your knee. It's like you need to learn how to get your balance, right? So other things, it's like, all right, I really don't want them to touch all these things, and if they do, I just want them to be like, hey, if you touch that, like go wash your hands.
Yes.
And so I've been balancing at my kids' age. Where's the age of being overprotective, and then they don't actually know how to pick up a dirty leaf, and you know, then all of a sudden, like they sneeze wrong, they're gonna, you know, have the flu for 10 days, as opposed to like actually having like immunity built up. So I've been really struggling with that.
As a kid, you ate dirt. You know what I mean? Like the stuff we did as kids, I think we don't let our kids do it these days, partially because we can't just let them run around like we did. Like I know when I was a kid,
dude,
I was
but to that end, I haven't
dynamic
verified this, but supposedly, like I know, like number like one of the like most common fear when like parents are interviewed, what's the biggest fear for your kid? It's kidnapping. Like that's number like 5,000 as what's like probable to actually happen to your child, that to get them hurt over all these other common things, because like most kidnappings, according to statistics, actually happen from a family member.
Yeah, my fears are completely different.
But you know what I mean? Like, but in the news, all you hear are these crazy, tragic things. So like, as a parent, when you hear these things, you're like, oh my god, like my kid can't like play in the neighborhood because some weirdos is gonna come up and just like nail
Ice
him.
cream man.
Now again, not that tragedy doesn't happen, but it's like we're taking that and now applying it to like common stuff like, well, I can't let my kid climb the tree. You're like, no, like, you know how much spatial awareness comes from climbing a tree and doing all these things. Like, so again, trying to find that balance, because I mean, I guarantee you were probably swinging at the top of a tree just like we were. Fell down a few trees, you know. Like
I still climb the trees with the kids, like,
dude.
But you know what I mean? So those sorts of things. But if you
ask, my wife will get mad at because she's like, why are you teaching them to do this stuff? And I'm like, well, they need to learn.
It's fun.
But then the problem is, but then there's other things that I'm adamant that I will not let my children do. And I feel bad.
Now, is that things that you did as a kid that you're adamant them not doing, or just in general?
It's my professional career. And I feel bad for my children because there's just certain things that I won't let them do.
Give me a couple examples.
I won't go into it too in depth, but, you know, through my career, I've had to run calls in certain situations. And it's just, you know, you get handed a limp child, you'll never let your children do what caused that, just because it's something that I couldn't go through that. Like, I had to go through it with somebody else's kid. There's no way in hell I'm going through it with mine. And I feel bad because, to me, I kind of hold them back with certain things, but maybe that's just me dealing with what I've...
Well, I think that's just a byproduct of you being a firefighter and
unfortunately,
seeing a lot of death and bad things. And
other
like
guys that I've talked to that have kids, they're kind of the same way. When they have something rough, that they're like, yeah, I'll just... And...
It's protective. I mean, dude, that's just like human instinct. You know what I mean? Like,
but I let my kids ride 4-wheelers. You know, my kids have their own 4-wheelers and like they can literally go ride around, you know, around our property, and I'm okay with that. But you probably
taught them the right way and showed them a lot of stuff. I have a story. Our very first couple episodes is stories about my kids on 4-wheelers, and it was a big problem.
My son's the only one to wreck, though. I mean, he literally drove it into the swamp, and then he's also tried to jump a little hill, and he wrecked. And I think both those times scared himself enough that he's like, okay, like
I know my limits now.
Start to test
probably shouldn't try to.
And plus, they tattletale. It's a good thing about them being together in age, and they do things together.
He did this,
or she did that, and I'm like, all right. So
I experienced the first but it was like a straight up call out. Like, we were at a family gathering, and one of the cousins got pushed down like slide, and no one could see it, and he comes like, I was like, what happened? It's like someone pushing. We were trying to tag my kids. I'm like, did you push him? He's like, yep, he was in my way. All right, well,
dude, tattletaling pisses me off. Like, I appreciate it at times, but there's times where they're just tattletale, like just like being a punk rat tattletale.
I get it.
She took my marker away. I'm like, get out of here with your crap. You two sort that out.
But
I don't want to hear about it.
Here's the
Go
thing.
lock yourself in a room.
If you have that not happen now, like say you cut it out, what happens when they get to 16 and they start doing stuff?
I get that, and that's
dude.
That's
I know.
where I'm like, and like,
because I want to know as a parent. I want to know. Oh,
dude, I'm
you're
terrified.
Doing this? There's just so.
And
many.
there's times where I'll if it's like something for real, where like Cameron, did this or did that. I'm like, oh, all right, I need to talk to her. Kendall, thank you. That was a very good job. I appreciate that. But when it's stupid, petty stuff, I'm like,
it's
did anybody get hurt? Did somebody do something? And I'm like, all right, I don't want to hear about it. You guys
need to learn how to sort this out.
Yeah. But
there's
it's a delicate balance all the time of like what's too much, what's not enough, what's just right, and there's no real good answer.
There's no
for
rule
it.
book. There's no book. There's no like.
I say it every time.
No, we say this every time. It's funny that you say. We literally say like there's no instruction manual for parenting because every parent's different, every kid's different, and every situation is different.
Like,
I mean, it's
how you were raised. Like to some people, certain things are important. Like to me, respect for elders is important. My son opening the door for people is extremely important. Even my daughter. If they're sitting down in a seat and somebody older walks in, they know that they're supposed to get up and offer that seat to somebody. And I do that as an adult, so they see it happening.
And those are some of the old school things that you learned from your grandmother that like a little bit.
I didn't learn you were going to do this or you're going to get your butt whipped.
But that's what I'm saying. Things that were instilled in you that were old school that a lot of that is lost, dude. And that's what I wanted was, the manners that your kids have that like is pretty ridiculously awesome, because you didn't let a lot of things slip through the crack, and you're not soft with your kids.
And I'm also not home a lot too, so it's to me it's important. Like they know that if they misbehave, like mom will tell me, and I'll deal with it when I get home. And FaceTime is awesome because I will get.
Or they're going to drive them to the fire department. Daddy's going to deal with it there.
Allegedly. So it's important.
Okay? I want to backtrack a little bit. I know you didn't want to go too much in depth. What's like one thing that's like you don't want your kids doing because you've seen happen as a firefighter?
Gymnastics.
Really?
I'm sorry for my daughters. I'm sorry for my daughters. They will never ever do gymnastics.
I don't want to hear anymore.
You don't want, and I won't tell you more.
I don't want to hear anymore. My kids are so into it.
I probably.
I mean, I can imagine. I mean, you're talking about
I wouldn't even tell you
necks
the
and
story.
spines and
so I won't tell you the story either. But it's just they'll never do gymnastics, and a part of me that's selfish, but it's selfish because I never want.
Well, so like we'll talk about gymnastics, but keeping it not as dark, if you would, from what I'm imagining is probably going, with that story.
Exactly.
Like it's like so like the wife went to and I went to like a trampoline park. Before we had kids, and we're like doing all dumb stuff, just having fun. But she was jumping straight up and down and blew out her ACL, literally going like straight up and down.
Oh,
I mean, she's like, she's flexible and everything. But it's like, for like things that I don't want my kids to do, it's like every other parent I talk to that has had a kid go to a trampoline park. Oh well, like they broke their leg, they broke their arm. I'm like
a broken leg, a broken arm, I can deal with.
No, I hear you on that, but it's like one of those things. We're just talking about like things that I don't. I'm like, I'm like. You want to go to trampoline park? Looks like we're going boating that day because you're not going to Johnny's party because Daddy doesn't want to have a $5,000 deductible. Like your party cost me $5,000, not gonna happen.
Right.
But again, I feel bad for my kids, but it's just like I literally have known way too many people and doctors that are just like, oh yeah, like Johnny and Sally come in every day.
And it happens a lot more than you think. You just
don't
know. You don't have a big pool. That you talk to a bunch of people that are doing this stuff, but this happens every day.
Pools are another thing that freak me out, dude. My kids love the pool, and and I've never deprived them of like playing in the water and all stuff, but it freaks me out. Like you don't get second chances from drowning, really. Like you know what I'm saying? Like there's
no, but you generally don't.
That's the number one cause of kids' death is drowning.
Yep.
Is it not?
I don't know. There's some medical stuff too.
It's up there.
Yeah. So actually, I think it's car accidents. Then drownings. I think 2 or 3.
But it's up there.
No, it's definitely up there.
Leaving your kid unattended in a bathtub for 2 seconds.
People don't understand that that's actually if they can't get themselves up, they can suck in water and drown.
That's it, dude. Just like that. And
it just like they steal something off a table so fast. It's like that's what happens in the water
so fast.
Yeah, it is.
The water freaks me out. That's my big.
One of the hardest things with like having so many kids is you've got to have like eyes in the back of your head. You're grabbing this, you're putting your foot over one to grab the other one because they start doing stuff, especially when they know you're occupied. can't stop it.
So like when it's quiet in your house, do you just freak out?
Yeah.
Like I gotta imagine, all of a sudden you wake up and it's just like
way too quiet. I feel like we just posted a meme about that.
Yes. So yeah,
it's like if it's too quiet, something bad is
luckily
happening.
now we're tiny house living. so
like a legit tiny house.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So we sold our house, which we had a decent sized house, but it just wasn't big enough. Like
yeah,
like we had a big house, but it wasn't big enough. So now we're going to build a new house that fits everybody and fits our needs and has a kitchen.
So wait, you put a tiny house on your big property?
No. We're actually living with my in-laws right now. They have a big piece of property and they had an in-law suite. So we've got like myself, my wife, and the babies in the in-law suite, and then my big kids sleep in their bedrooms at their grandparents' house.
Gotcha.
But it's all connected.
Same.
Yeah, it's the same house, but it's just connected through a garage.
And then
these
on his property,
in-laws?
Yes.
God bless them.
I'm blessed to have.
Awesome.
I'm actually have awesome in-laws.
They are really awesome. They're like
I'm
yours.
I'm very fortunate as well.
I'm super.
I couldn't have survived my 3 kids. I don't think it would have been a lot more stressful if I didn't have that.
Yeah. I was blessed with, I met my wife very young. I was very young, and her father realized that we were going to be together, so he started, I never had a dad really, so he started, being a father figure and teaching me things with with like managing money as a family man, like those things. Yeah. And it helped out. It really helped out in the long run. Yeah.
Dang. Oh man. So how much longer till
I don't even know. Gosh, I have no idea how.
Well, you've built a shop on the new property.
Yeah, so
he bought some land. He built a shop that he's running the.
No, the shop's actually on my in-laws' property because we have.
Oh, that's right.
So we put it there because it's all in house, and then when we build the new house on the new property, we'll probably build a shop there because he's into classic cars, so we'll just use it for
car stuff.
He's
got a cool truck.
Yeah, he's building a new one too, which is. I'll send you pictures.
Yeah, so what's that dynamic like? Like, what does your bath time look like?
It's actually relatively.
Well, you got
easy.
2 kids that can kind of like wash themselves.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting. Like in my mind, it's always
awesome.
Like
when they get old enough. Like same thing, like Cameron. I'm like, Cameron, go take a shower.
Yeah, they go take showers.
Go take a shower.
And then actually for the little ones, we use the laundry basket. So we've got a big tub. We put the laundry basket in the center that gets the 1-year-old. So he's contained into that to where he'll hold the sides and play around and stuff like that. And then one of the other, the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old on the other sides. So we just wash them all together.
See, we've been doing that but the boys now are like they still
laundry
haven't
basket's
quite.
A good hack.
It is.
I didn't know about
if you got a big enough
it's
tub,
fantastic. Even
well,
smaller tubs. You just
I keep thinking about it with
you get
my
a small
2 other
one.
kids.
Yeah, if you get a small one, like this isn't like the big monster. This is the like 1-load little small one that we put in there, and it's got holes so the water doesn't fill up as much. It'll just go out, and it's perfect. It keeps him contained while you're washing the other one. You don't have to worry about him flopping over or anything like that.
Well, and obviously being right there, but
great hack.
Yeah, mine still just don't like them in there, and they're like again. I don't know if it's a older kid thing or a twin thing. Like they have each other, and like who's the third wheel here? We need to exit the premise. You know what I mean?
Anders, forget about you.
Yeah,
and also the wand, like the shower wand that comes down. That thing's awesome too. So we'll use
that
as well.
Did your kids hate having water on their head?
I don't understand that. Like you go in the pool, you'll go underwater. Like
no, my kids will go in the shower under the shower. But if you're in a tub and I pour water on their head, it's game over.
Yeah, I don't get it.
They got over it now, but like for the longest time, I was like, well, I don't.
Still to this day, and I don't understand it. I'm like,
okay, so that's not just my kids.
No,
I thought I was like, you kids are weird.
Yeah,
yeah. Kids are always weird though.
Super.
So it's like, what's some of the weirder things your kids do? I'm just curious for people listening if they're like, my kid does this weird thing.
You want to know about bath time. I want to know what the budgeting and grocery shopping and like that ridiculous.
You buying cows yet?
So we go through 7 gallons of milk a week at least 7 gallons of milk.
And you cook a lot. Like you said, you have a passion for cooking.
Yeah. We cook pretty much every meal.
That's why I don't give my kids milk.
Yeah. Also, we can't really go to...
You guys should see the food he cooks, by the way. Let me say,
So it's I don't even know, the real _ booth. I don't know. It's but a lot of the food's on Armordillo Concealment because that's kind of like... I can't just post like holsters every day, So
he cooks at the fire station too for like everybody. This dude loves any cook.
Cooking's definitely it's my stress relief. Like some people, they go do something, they hike, or some people do other things. I don't know. I'll come to your house and cook something.
Sweet.
I generally
I got a whole bunch of prime rib that needs cooked.
let's go. You're gonna have to deal with all my
And then
children.
I eat like a 5-year-old.
Hey, I got a cage out back. It's
Booth's
called
like,
the Fence.
hey, I'll come
What?
over and cook dinner. What do you want?
Honestly, that's what I do.
I'm like,
I have knife will travel. Like you
chicken
invite me
fingers.
over. No, I'm not cooking you chicken fingers. I'll make something that you'll
Funny
eat.
story.
Like,
My chef buddy that I was with last week made some amazing chicken fingers.
oh yeah, you can take them up, and then you can make different sauces for them. But no, I'm not making chicken fingers. My kids.
So-
my kids eat chicken fingers, but they like other stuff too.
7 gallons of milk.
7 gallons of milk.
How much ground beef do you buy?
I don't even know. All of it. So like.
The whole cart gets full of ground beef and milk.
My aunt and uncle used to like feed
Well-
their friends like baseball team, and they'd go to Costco and buy 50 pounds of ground beef.
All right,
Yeah,
so
do like Taco Tuesday.
Let's switch this up a little bit. Okay, so what are some of your go-to simple meals? Like you're in a hurry, let's get everybody fed. Something that maybe you want to cook but keep it simple.
Yeah, I don't do simple.
Okay,
My wife.
What's
now,
the family's favorite meal that Daddy cooks?
Tacos. But my tacos are just not like they're not your average taco. Like
So it's
not
not a
like me
hard
going to
shell
Moe's.
ground beef and cheese like beef gets at Moe's every day.
no, it's definitely not a what is that? The Three Amigos?
Yeah,
yeah.
dude.
No, it ain't Three Amigos. I'll put most to shame. No, it's they definitely like ground beef tacos, but like they'll eat tacos al pastor, they'll eat carnitas, like, and I'll make all that stuff at home, and so it gets pretty to the point. Like, all right, so we went. I think Tijuana Flats, right? Can I say that? Like registered trademark after it. So we went there. They just opened up, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so great." I'm like, "All right." Well, we were just out. We were shopping. I was like, "Let's go before we go shopping because it just makes it easier if we got full bellies. We won't buy as much." And so we go. We get tacos. I sit down. We're eating, and my wife and I kind of look at each other. We're like, "No, this is not good at all." So my son's eating, and he looks at me and he goes, "Dad, this isn't really good." I'm like, "I know, it's all right. Let's just eat and then we'll go shopping." So of course the manager walks up. "Hi, how's everything going? How's your meal?" And my wife and I'm like, "Oh, everything's good. We're good. Thanks, blah, blah." My son straight up looks at me, "Dad, no, it's not. It's horrible. Why are you lying to him?" And I'm like, "Son, like, it's okay. It's okay." And it's part of me's like, I don't want to like kill the honesty of it, but it's like no filter. He's like, "No, this is horrible. Like, why are we here?" And part of it is because like their palate, what they're used to is just not what everybody
on the
gets.
extreme, yeah.
So it was definitely a little awkward for that moment.
That's
but,
hilarious.
I'm going to teach you about white lies.
and that's what I did. I told him, I said, "We say
And-
things to protect their feelings." Yes.
AKA, I don't really want to have a conversation with the manager. I want him to leave.
I just want him to leave.
So-
I just want
Tell
to
him
eat
his
this.
I
food
didn't want to
sucks.
tell him his food sucked, so then he had to ask me more questions.
And I explained that to him. I told him, I said, "There's nothing that we're going to say that's going to change it. So we're just going to just be about it and we'll never come back."
It's being polite.
And we will go to Moe's. If we're going to go somewhere, we will. And it's partially because we can fit everybody pretty easy. And then they've got enough selection that we can, get dinner
Dress it up,
for everybody.
too, yeah.
Speaking of fitting everybody, what's life like with your minivan there, Booth? How you enjoying
We
that?
play. I've got this cool game called Minivan Jigsaw Puzzle. It's like I have certain bags that I know will fit in certain places, and like so right now since we moved and everything's kind of out, like I couldn't find a couple bags because they're packed away in boxes, and I'm like freaking out because I know that I can put X amount of stuff in these bags and I can fit it in this spot of the minivan, like, and it fits perfectly, and I'm like, great, like I cannot do it.
You got the car top carrier going.
He's gonna go
when you travel?
shopping
No.
for luggage and like, all right, I need a 9x10x12 suitcase
Like-
that fits in this spot.
And it is. It's certain bags. So yeah, it's definitely. And my wife, she of course overpacks. I hope she doesn't watch this.
She's
But
100% watching this.
oh, I know, and she
I've already
knows.
texted her.
And I tell her every time, like, "You've overpacked." She's like, "They need underwear for every day, socks for every." I'm like, we're going a place that has this thing called a washing machine. We can do a load of laundry. And she just looks at me. She goes, "You gonna do the laundry?"
You're like, all right, just pack it.
I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then I put it in the washer and I'll completely forget about it and then have to wash it 2 or 3 times.
That is the worst.
You're like, "Oh, dang it." And it smells bad, of course. You got to
Right.
do it over again.
Yeah.
Every time. So talking about the things that the trauma from being a fireman, seeing things. I was on vacation last week in Tennessee. We haven't caught up. We haven't caught up with everybody
saw the photo.
Since I took that last podcast was me. I was about to go. So we go to Tennessee. We are up in the mountains. We're in like Pigeon Forge area, and we are at a restaurant. And two people walk in the door. There's like an older woman and a really older woman. And I shouldn't say old, but anyways, it was like a 55-year-old woman and a 75-year-old woman.
Yeah, I wouldn't be pegging the age to what you're commenting, but that's just me.
You're getting old, buddy.
I know. Anyways, well, the 75-year-old woman takes like 2 steps into the restaurant and she starts slipping and she falls and breaks her leg. And like compound fracture, femur's coming out of her leg. Her leg's like wrapped behind her. And she's like, and I'm like, oh, and this happens. I'm like sitting right where this happens. And I'm like, yep, that's super broken. And like I'm pretty certain it was a mother and daughter. And so like a couple other people see this woman fall, and then they kind of, and I was right there, so I'm like the first person there to kind of help her out. And I'm like, hey, your leg is broken. Don't try to move. And then I grabbed some stuff out of my bag and like made her a little pillow because her head was hanging off her shoulder. She's laying on the ground, so I like get her head, secure and like comfortable, and call 911. And then another girl that was sitting next to us in a booth, I think was a nurse, just based on how she was acting and talking. And so she helped me really keep things secure. And then one of the managers came over, and we were waiting for the fire department to show up. And was it awful? Like this poor woman, like.
Felt bad for her.
Yeah, I felt
There's
so
nothing
bad.
you could do.
Nothing I could do. And, like, I knew it was bad because like.
Well, thankfully, like nothing like. But someone
like,
that works for my father-in-law like fell, and the way he fell down, like the lat arm came out, like hit the veins, so blood's just shooting. Yeah. So they had to tourniquet top and bottom.
Listen to this.
Make sure the guy didn't lose his arm.
Yeah. So the thing
bleed
is,
out and die.
Like, and it was funny because I mentioned it on the podcast. I was like, I bring a small med kit, like nothing crazy, like some Band-Aids and gauze and just little boo-boos and scrapes kind of stuff, just in case, because we were gonna be up in the mountains and hiking and stuff. So, but like I was packing some stuff from the closet back here. My tourniquet was sitting there. I was like, I'll go grab it and bring it, and like, which I don't carry very often, to be honest.
You should.
I should. I know. But I did, and then that happened. Thankfully, I didn't have to use it, but like had she been really bleeding out because she hit something, main artery in her leg and her bone, whatever, like she could have probably bled from that pretty
You're
pretty
more
bad.
apt to use your tourniquet than a firearm.
Right.
I've pulled up on scenes and many people have applied tourniquets prior to us getting there. Generally, it's, sheriff's office or something like that.
Right.
But they have. I mean, especially on motorcycle accidents, like you're more apt to use a tourniquet than you are your pistol, but you carry your pistol with you everywhere you go.
You know it.
You should. You definitely should have a med kit and have an understanding of what it is, what you can do with it and how to treat, not only for yourself, but your family members,
For sure.
It's something that's important.
Right. I just thought it was ironic that like I bring it. This happens. Thankfully, I have to use it. Like I could see she was bleeding, but she wasn't bleeding out. I wasn't concerned about that. So
is there a pretty good difference when you know? Do you know?
Oh
when
yeah,
you need to use it?
You start looking at it, you're like,
that's a tourniquet situation.
Like,
that's a get your belt off and get your belt off and.
The belt doesn't work. I mean, it can, but you really have to wrench on it. You have to crank it, and the problem is there's no holes in it that you can really get to it. You definitely want to get a proper tourniquet. Yeah,
where you can twist it, crank it down, or some of the other styles.
Exactly.
But
no, I would stick with,
Well, it was crazy though. So and like her leg was like the bottom part of her. She broke it just above the knee, like bottom of the femur.
Yep.
And like it was like hanging like this, like the bottom part of her leg hanging off. And then when EMS finally got there and they were going to put her on the board, I told Brandy and her friend and all of our kids, I was like, why don't you take the girls outside while they move this woman around, because it's probably going to get a little gnarly,
Yeah,
and then
some will scream.
Yeah. So I told the cop, I was like, hey, you should probably go tell that table over there with the other little kids, like maybe they should take the kids outside for a few minutes. He's like, oh yeah, good call. Thankfully, this woman was pretty gangster and was like, took it, and she was like, oh, no.
I had a patient that broke her femur. She was straight gangster, like no pain meds and no nothing. She's like, I'm good. She was 12. She was riding a motorcycle with her dad. They wrecked. Somebody hit him, and she broke her leg. And I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, you want any pain? You want pain meds? Like I'll give you some if you're in pain. She's like, no, I'm good. She's like, let's go.
I was saying when I broke my leg, like it hurt. It hurt when I broke my leg recently, last year. Actually, it was a year yesterday or something. I just saw a 1 year.
And you're still riding that thing, aren't you?
Yeah, dude. It's just I enjoy it.
Don't worry,
much.
I upped the insurance.
Alex, Alex will get paid if I really kill myself.
I hope that never happens.
Put me on add another,
add a line item there for Booth. But I felt bad for this woman, and like I wish I had her information, like check up on her, but like it was pretty gnarly. And at her age, like that recovery is not going to be good, if at all. Like, and I am thinking about it, and the next day I see somebody, like a woman pushing an older woman through the shopping center in a wheelchair with a prosthetic leg, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be this poor lady. And then right after that, I'm pulling into like they've got these roller coaster things, and we're gonna go ride them. And this dude rides up on the sidewalk, and then off the side of the sidewalk, hits the curb, wrecks his motorcycle. Like he didn't hurt himself really, but I had to like stop and help that dude pick his bike up, broke the mirror off.
So why do I travel with you?
So I can save people.
Oh, okay.
I'm not the one getting hurt. I'm helping.
He's a magnet for things.
I gotta be careful next time I ride that escalator.
I'm there to help people. But it was crazy. But like now, and then the thing was, I feel bad it's a joke, but like every time we walked in somewhere, this poor woman, she slipped on a French fry.
What?
Yeah.
At least it could have been a banana peel. That would have at least been cool.
French fry. And she just kind of like did a split. When her leg hit the ground, it just broke the femur.
Yep.
Done.
Happens.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. French fry. So now I was like, we went to a McDonald's and like got out to pee, and there's like French fries all over the parking lot.
You're like, no.
I was like, watch your step.
So what other things do parents need to take? Speaking of like tourniquets, like what other things would you suggest having? Like at the minimum, just having a car.
For like
just your parenting
and med kit.
Yeah, med
like
kit,
med kit, or like
just,
we talking like
just
what we
all of the above. Using your background, obviously.
You definitely, there's so many options out there that are readily available that you can just purchase. There's no reason for you couldn't build one yourself. It'd be hard. But definitely tourniquet, gauze, Band-Aids. Those are what you're generally going to use. Certain people that are into certain things are going to have more stuff, and it comes by with your skill set. The biggest thing is making sure that you have CPR and understand and know. Take a course. They're super cheap. And I'll tell you
Our
right now.
fire department does them for free.
Yeah, and my department's very fat. Like we've got a good response time, but there's places that you may live that it may be a volunteer department that's not staffed, and they may have to get a page out for them to get to the truck and then get to you, and you need to have that stuff. You're your own defense, with all that stuff. So you've got to know that stuff.
What about allergies? Benadryl is something that we kind of keep around because you might realize your kid has an allergy
liquid
to something.
Benadryl. So we generally travel with liquid Benadryl, liquid Tylenol, and liquid ibuprofen. Those are because the biggest thing is fever and allergies. Like my son just got stung with a bee. Granted, he's not allergic to an issue, but if it came up, we were ready to go.
Right. And there's food allergies too. That like I was at a birthday party one time, and the kids were eating a cake or cookies or something. Turns out one of the kids there had a peanut allergy. And this was supposed to be a not peanut cake. It was like made like a point when they ordered it or whatever the case was.
Yeah, but it can be on anything.
Anything, right. Reaction in the middle of this party. This kid's throat's swelling up, can't breathe. Yep. Holy crap, what do they do? Thankfully, mom took him over, didn't have any Benadryl. I was like, oh my God. But like, one, you're either aware of it and something crazy happens and it just happens, or two, you don't know they are allergic to something until they have a reaction. You're like, holy crap, they're allergic to
Yeah, generally the first time nothing happens. It's the second or third time. So you think that, hey, my kid ate this peanut butter bar. Yeah, they're good. And then they eat it again and you're like, holy crap, what's going on? There's hives everywhere. They can't breathe. So it's good to have that stuff on hand.
For sure. That's a big one.
Any issue with keeping that stuff in your car if it gets too hot or cold?
We don't keep it in the car. We keep it in
their tactical baby gear bags.
Yes, in the tactical baby gear bag.
That's what I wanted to ask.
So that's it. That goes inside, obviously, is in a controlled environment, temperature-wise, and that goes with us. And we just keep them in the bottles.
Yeah.
Good. That's good.
We travel with that. We travel for long travels. We generally come with the potty, the portable, the trainer potties. That way we can control the environment for our 3-year-old to pee. She doesn't like the public bathrooms because she gets freaked out too. So that way we can do everything there, and it's been way easier. It's so much easier.
Send the bigger ones in, and
I'll take the bigger ones in. I'll take my son. My wife will generally take my daughter because obviously I can't. I'm not going to take her into the men's. No. She's 10. Nope.
I don't play that game either.
Nope.
Which sucks because I feel bad because a lot of times we'll be at a restaurant or something and the kids have to go to the bathroom and I'm like, Brandy.
Well, see, you got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
We get to.
That's true. But I feel bad because it's kind of put on her like almost every time now. And depending on where we're at, like my oldest daughter, I'm like, hey, Kendall has to go to the bathroom, will you take her? So Cameron will take Kendall to the bathroom.
If I know it's a single potty, like I'll let him go, and then I'll just stand outside the door.
Right.
And then wait. But if it's, there's a bunch in there, no, my wife goes.
I mean, it's all those different things. Like, thankfully, you grow with it as the kid grows, like exposed to those things. But it's all those, like when you first have your kid and you bring him home from the hospital, like, you're not thinking about like, 3 years from now when I got to deal with a public restroom, how am I going to handle that? Thankfully, you grow into it, but still, like.
So how different are you from the first kid to the second kids? Like with like sterilizing bottles and like cleaning everything when it drops on the floor?
We were really.
He's a germaphobe, so
no, so.
It's like the
again,
first time,
it's a balancing act. Like I do, even in public. Like we did a road trip recently, and we got a flat tire with the kids. I was super lucky that the flat tire happened literally about a half mile from a rest stop, like one of like two within like 4 hours of each other. So I was able to pull off on the side of the road before it got super dangerous with the wheel. So I was changing a tire, in a parking lot as opposed to
on the side of the road
doing 90 down the highway. But like they're eating goldfish, and like we put the goldfish out on the bench, and the kids eating it. So I'm like. Internally, I'm like freaking out a little bit, but I'm also like if I completely shield them from the world, it's like the kid's gonna go to daycare and like he's gonna be the kid that's sick for 365 days. So it's like they gotta
get some
balance,
germs. They gotta build up the immune system.
But no, so like thankfully we did so my wife was able to breastfeed, nurse for like the twins, which I know way too much about. Breastfeeding,
just
because
that stuff's good, dude. We'd pack that stuff away, and then
we didn't. But we never had we never worried about really sterilizing the bottles. Just like we do the milk, pour it in, drink, and like sterilize the nipple or whatever.
Yeah.
But like never got
it's
super
funny,
involved
like,
with
the first ones. You're like everything's got to be clean, and then the second one you're like nah. Third one you're like.
Well,
like, up, let's go.
Like the only thing we stopped doing was like, all right, this is the thing that like like the little bottle scrubber. I was like, don't like clean pots and pans with this.
Yeah,
like that was like that was a number. On number 3, I was like, we're just gonna make sure that like
that one stays
cups.
up, and that's
one's
the
for the
one.
Bottles, but otherwise like we didn't have to deal with that many bottles. Like we started segueing bottles, obviously, just so they knew how to drink from one.
You guys cleaned your bottles?
Yeah,
but I just rinsed them out, spit in a little bit, and.
But we thankfully I didn't have to deal with a lot of just a lot of that sterilizing and everything else.
You know what?
The one bag that you put in the microwave.
We used the ones with the liners, replaceable liners.
Yeah,
that was. I didn't have time. Like Brandy was working full time. I was working full time. I didn't have time for cleaning all these bottles. Like clean the nipple, put a new liner in it, done.
That's so I didn't have to get involved. So the germaphobe, but like. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else like from the twins to the next one where it's just been a little bit more like I think a lot more like the eating the crayons and stuff like with the little ones. I was like constantly trying to like beat it on it, and now I'm like, don't eat that. When he starts to chew on it and smile at me, I'm like, just please don't eat that.
Then
it's not toxic.
Yeah.
And you'll poop it out later.
They don't like it.
Like that's like I started realizing like the more I mess with them, the more they want to do it. So I was like. All right, is this kid in a safe enough environment? Let's just see how this plays out. And then you're like, no, he threw it on the floor and moved on. I'm like, perfect. So it does. It just it starts to change obviously as you get the older ones to just. Well, you'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Like he's climbing on the couch and like fell over the couch onto the tile, and I was like, that's a nice nut on your head. I will hold you while you cry, but I'm like, you looking at me? You blinking? No vomit. All right, we're good.
My 3-year-old, she scares me, man. She's like straight up down to
fearless.
So my 3-year-old, we're playing at my sister's, and they're playing with their cousin, and she straight up something hits her, like she's got a bruise, like immediately, like pow, she's got a bruise.
As you know, though, when it goes out, no internal bleeding, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, but it's on her face, like it's on her cheek, and I'm like, hey, what happened? I don't want to talk about it, Dad. I'm like, babe, are you all right? Everything. Dad, I'm fine. I want to go back to playing. And I'm like, what happened? She's like, I'm not telling you because you're going to tell me to stop playing. I'm good. And I'm like, you were down to do... No. Like this... I need to know.
She's like the fighter. It's like, give me the knife. Let me cut the blood out and keep doing this.
And my 2-year-old, she's just as crazy fearless with climbing. Like we were cutting down limbs at the property, and We had a ladder up in a tree that it was still up. And she's riding her little bike, tricycle thing. And then she sees the ladder and she's like, dumps the bike straight to the ladder, just climbs it all the way up to the top. She's got her little helmet on. She's just looking around. I'm like, what are you doing? No fear at all.
Just playing, Dad.
If it's something to climb, she's going to climb it.
Yeah,
like, she'll climb the cabinet. She doesn't care. She climbs everything.
My kids like playing with electrical outlets.
Every kid.
Using the actual plug. Like, they don't put foreign objects into it, but they love to unplug everything and plug it back in.
It's dangerous.
I know.
Buddy.
It's dangerous.
And I keep having to, like, beat them.
Those ones you might have to get
listen.
the little lock that it screws in, and then basically the plug goes in, and there's a plastic
holds
cover
it
over
on.
it. Yeah, there's a plastic
Like,
cover over it.
so I was, like, it's just...
Because it's a moment of time before they say, ooh, this will go. And then.
Oh, so the few times that they've done it, what would you call it? The thunder voice?
Yeah, Thunder Dad voice.
Thunder Dad. It was more like.
That's the different level.
Beep, 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 beep. Don't touch that.
there's the different levels. Like, there's the low grumble, and then there's, like, the really, like, and then everybody stops at that point.
It's one of those.
The wives love it. Don't fool you. The wives love it when you do the Thunder Dad voice.
You need to stop that. And then, of course, like, the next day, like, they'd look at me, like, they'd be like, stop that. I'm like, don't forget anything.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you gotta watch the verbiage on that, because they will hit the repeater on you, and you'll be like,
So the wife speaks.
That's one last thing. I want to kind of wrap it up on that.
Yeah.
You and I talked a while back about like code. You know how, like, when the kids are younger and you can get away with, like, spelling things out you don't know about, and then you have to kind of, like, they start figuring out, like, they know what that spells now, and then we were talking about, like, having to create code for certain things.
Oh yeah, you gotta,
and
like,
then you're just screwed.
Yes.
Have
Well,
you
what's really
combated that at
no.
all?
So now
Or
it's at
you're
the point
just
where
like-
I can spell things, or we have code, but the bigger kids have figured it out. They've already cracked it. They're like, we got this down. So, like, when the wife and I are trying to figure something out that we've got to do, like, now we just straight up text each other. Like, now get your phone. And then the other
you're in the same room. You're like,
oh yeah, exactly. Because you can't say it, because in the big kids they're like, oh, we're gonna do this, and it's like, seriously, shut your mouth. Like,
Yeah, you
I don't
blew
want
it.
you blew it, or I don't want the 3-year-old knowing. I don't want them talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
So
I can't even text my wife stuff much anymore, because Cameron will, like, grab our phones, and she'll, like, grab my phone and text Brandy, or grab Brandy's phone and text me, and then she'll run into the other room, and she'll be like, Daddy, I texted you. I'm like, I know. She's like, well, you didn't reply yet. I'm like, chill. Like,
I realize you're in the other room.
well, I've got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
So this is something, and for everybody out there that are parents, iPads, tablets. How much screen time are you guys down with?
it was sweet. We just talked about that. We just took the iPads away from the kids completely recently, because they were just getting a little too, like, reliant on them for entertainment. And it was like, they would play with it during the day a little here and there, and then at bedtime we'd let them watch it for like 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and like and then it got to be the point where, like, Kendall was just, like, walking around the house, like, watching her iPad and, like, bump into a wall. I was like, all right, that's it, we're done. And they just became too reliant on them for entertainment, and like, go outside and ride your bike, go jump on the trampoline and break your leg, go play on the playground. Like, iPads are done, and they haven't had them in weeks now. And so yeah.
What about you?
I gave my kids, each of my kids, like, even the littlest one has an iPhone. It doesn't work, and they think it works, and that's about how much screen time they get. They get a black, reflective, old iPhone 4 screen.
Nice.
My kids get no screen time.
Now,
none.
on the other side of that,
they're
my kids do
young
watch
now.
the TV. Like, they like to watch, like, kids shows on Netflix or YouTube, and they can use the TV, and, like, like, I'll be up Saturday morning and it's like 8:00 and they've gotten up at like 7:15 and they're just, like, watching cartoons.
The 3-year-old can straight run the remote. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, I'm the queen of this thing. Don't touch it. I'll stab you.
I don't think my kids know how to operate a remote.
So it's hard, because this is something my wife and I have, like, talked about many times, because I want them rooted in tradition. Like, we literally, like, when we cut down trees, I go out there and we drag the tree bushes to the burn pile, and when we do that stuff, like, the older kids have to come out, and eventually the younger kids will come out too, and that's it. But a part of me is like, are we doing them a disservice? Because these kids, our kids, when they grow up, this is all it's going to be. Like, their phones, their tablets, they're going to be so plugged in. Like, are we doing them a disservice?
I would say no, because they're going to get that foundation eventually. Meaning, like
Well,
when they're 8, when they're 10.
But are your older kids using stuff like that? Like,
because at school, they have to log on to do certain things
at school. Yeah,
they have to log a certain amount of time.
I don't know. I think
it's
that
good
age,
for them to understand the technology, but I think that there just needs to be a balance of there's time for it, there's time to not have it. Like, I just set up a computer at my house because like they love to play on the computer, and like, but the problem is like I'm bringing my work computer home, and they're like bashing the keyboard and just being ridiculous. But then like even Kendall at daycare was using a computer, and they're using to learn to use a mouse and click on icons, and this is this color and that's that color. Well, like learning that, and so we just replaced the computer in the office. So I took it home and I set it up, parental controls. It turns out it can only operate during these hours, and they have like their own login, and they know the code to get into it. And they have it regulates which apps they can use and which apps they can't. And I've got like a couple of games on there, and they're like educational games and stuff. So that's something we just did in the past like week. But like at 7:30, it will log them out, and it's like, nope, you're done.
See, my daughter,
and I can override it if I wanted to or whatever. And it's like it has like weekday hours, weekend hours, and it's really interesting. That's my first dive into like parental controls into any. Is
this
kind
on
of
a
device.
Mac or a PC?
This is on a Mac.
Yeah, we have 2 old MacBooks that we were gonna do the same thing, and because they need to understand it. And like my daughter, she loves to read. She's off the chart. She reads like crazy, but she still loves that stuff. And she'll come out. Both of them will come out and help me in the shop, and they both know how to run the backside of the website. Like they know how to print postage. They know how to complete orders. They know how to do that stuff because really they want to hang out with me, and I've got to work. So it's like, all right, come out to the shop, help me out. Like my son knows how to do like all the riveting. He can do all the riveting by himself, and he loves it. He loves doing that. So a part of me wants them to understand both and have that stuff, but where's the line? Like I just don't know, and I'd be interested to know.
I hate to take them away from technology because it's technology
way more.
It's only progressing, but it's given everybody the opportunities. Like the current opportunities in the world are because of technology, because of the internet, because of software, because of the nerds won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so if you can balance the work ethic with the understanding of technology, I think it's a super powerful thing, but there has to be the balance.
Yes.
I don't disagree. I don't think
your kids are young.
But I was gonna say I don't think there's a disadvantage until they start to get like really into school.
We would have never bought them if it wasn't for our family trips because like we flew a couple times, and I'm like, I'm not flying with a 2 and a 3-year-old without something
to keep.
So we
busy.
bought iPads and just put a bunch of movies on there. And to me, it was more along the lines, I just didn't want my kids. I didn't want to be on a plane and be
screaming kids.
Those parents.
Yeah.
And now I think back, I'm like, I should have just let him scream. So, but. It's hard. I don't know.
So the recent trip, like the car trip we went on, like I got my kids trained in such a way, like they love like old when I say old music, like Van Morrison to the Beatles to Michael Jackson, like whatever, like just more like
old school
older,
stuff.
That's now the old school
music.
classics.
But like they love you. They'll for the little bit of screen time, like in a car, they'll like literally have the like photo of the album up when it plays music on YouTube, and they think that they're watching a video. Like, I've got them conned now. So like that's the screen time. I don't know. I think it's been a struggle on us as parents because up until they started really playing with them, like playing, interacting with each other more, we kind of had to entertain or read or be available. Or like you couldn't cook dinner because I didn't just turn on the TV, but that was the choice we made as a family. And I think it's paying off dividends now.
Yeah. Well, they replicate what you do. Like if they see, like our kids see us eating this, so they want to eat that. Like my kids will straight up eat like tomato, onion, stuff that you would be like,
I'm not eating that. No.
You're not eating that. But my kids
I literally have a piece of spinach in the fridge down there because I wanted him to eat something green.
They will eat that stuff because of us. But if you're on,
you might need to get some Benadryl because I might have an allergic reaction.
I think there's definitely to your thing is like I think moderation. And I think, it's very beneficial to, parents that have to maybe like operate other things in the home. And it's like, how do you kind of keep your kids safe and mildly entertained without just, having them sit in a corner. But like if you need somewhat of a distraction because you're trying to get food on the table or whatever else. But I don't know. I feel like they're not going to be at a disadvantage if they don't start with technology, at age 3. Like if my kids never touch the computer till age 8, I don't think they're going to be any less capable in school than the kid that maybe's been on it longer. Just
some schools, it's part of it.
Like, but my kids rarely ever see a phone or screen time, and yet they know how to operate an iPhone. Like I've never taught them how to do it.
It's scary how
so you know what I mean. Like that's
intuitive for them. It's insane.
It
my daughter will do things on her iPad. I'm like, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah, like this stuff, because they'll text me. Like my older ones will text me when I'm on duty, and they'll FaceTime with me and stuff. And some of the things they send me, I'm like, it's almost scary because they're diving into it that we don't generally do. Like YouTube Kids, they used to have YouTube Kids, and then I went through their history, and they would be on YouTube Kids for X amount of time, and then somehow they would segue out and start seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing. And I'm like, so we took it off.
Right.
Like they don't have YouTube Kids on theirs anymore, just because of that. Like I started, like when she started sending me things, my daughter, that I was like, where are you finding this on there? She was diving into everything,
like digging deep, going down
the
rabbit
actual
holes.
YouTube.
Well, what's interesting
not
about
just YouTube, it started with the messages, like the digital touch messages or whatever that she could send. Like I was like, I asked her, I said, how are you doing this? Because I didn't know. And she showed me, and I'm like, so you're going way deeper in this than I ever did. So then I started looking at everything she was doing on her iPad, and she wasn't doing it maliciously. She was just on YouTube Kids, and she
exploring.
Hit play, and it went, and it just kept going. And the next thing I know, I'm like, why is this on YouTube Kids? Yeah. And it's because it just clicks, it pops up something and clicks, and then next thing you know, you're on YouTube.
Right.
So
yeah, it's crazy. Well, what's interesting about the texting too is like, it's impressive. Like my daughter can put a sentence together, like a proper sentence, punctuation, throw a few emojis in there. And I'm like, wait, did Brandy send me that? Or was that from Cameron? Because it'll be like, and I'm like, and it's unbelievable how
coming home for dinner.
Do you change how you respond to your children? Like when you and I talk, we talk, like typical text language. Right. When I talk to my children on their iPads, it's grammatically correct, commas, everything.
No, it's usually like
she's
one
not
word.
older yet. Well, once they
or like emoji, like thumbs up.
Dad, can I do this?
Although I respond to everybody with emojis. Like I don't type crap. I'm like 2-word replies or like a thumbs up emoji.
I'm pretty sure we've had a complete conversation with
emojis
and GIFs.
Yeah. Speaking of GIFs, have you seen all my new stickers on Instagram?
Yes.
Shameless plug. If nobody's seen all the stickers on Instagram of myself, you can go to the Instagram stories, go to GIFs, and do a search for TBG, and you'll be entertained.
Show me how to do that.
It's top secret. It took a lot of work. Ryan worked back into that. I'm pretty sure he was like...
The F&G did it?
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to wrap it up. It's getting long. We're getting late. We got dinner soon. Is there anything else that you want to ask the audience, tell the audience? No. I don't have any final questions. Do you, Alex? Tell them again where they can find you, Booth.
At Armordillo Concealment.
On Instagram.
So since this is a family one.
And by the way, that's Armordillo.
Yeah, Armordillo. It's a fireman chose the name. I was stuck with it. I couldn't get away from it.
If you're interested in his holsters, it's armordilloconcealment.com. Guys, go check that stuff out.
And one sec. To the single parents, both moms and dads, keep doing what you're doing. I'm a product of it. My mom was, like I said, a teenager and a single mom through pretty much my entire life, and I'm grateful for it. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks for coming on, dude. Love you. Appreciate you.
Do I get one?
Guys, thanks for listening. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you're listening on the audio platforms, please leave a review and a rating. We would greatly appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next episode.